Hello and welcome to the Lost in Possession podcast. My name's Jamie, coming with you with your FPL content. Today I've got you your best three players in each position, excluding goalies. We really don't want to be wasting many transfers on that. But first things first, please help us out and subscribe to the channel. Give us some comments on what you think I'm going to say is right or even wrong. Give us tap that notification bell. It all helps us out more than you know. First things first, before I pick the players though, it's going to go straight into the August Lost in Possession League. And as you can see, in the top 10, you'll have myself, nothing but trebles, in 5th place. And you'll also see sneaking into the top 10 is Manduka Wines, with Jordan getting there just. It was a red arrow in the league for him, but he's still in the top 10. Well done to Maestros FC, Kefa, top of the league, on to win himself a Premier League shirt for the 24-25 season. I'll try and keep up with each month and see who's doing the best as we get closer and closer towards the end of the season. Now, let's come here for what you've been waiting for. The best three defenders over the next few game weeks. I'm not going long term. I'm going purely short term. Get them into your team and they should be getting you points straight away. Let's into the defenders. So first of all, a lot of people will have him already, but I can't not have him in this. It's Ben Chilwell. Chelsea's fixtures are brilliant. You know, they've got Nottingham Forest at home, Bournemouth away, and then probably the toughest one of them all is Aston Villa at home. Like you see, Forest at home. Forest haven't been that great defensively or possibly even attacking really away from home, but they were good against United and Arsenal this season, to be fair to them. So he may not be getting the clean sheets, but defensively they were leaking goals and being 2-0 up in 5 minutes against United and still losing 3-2 is very disappointing. Chilwell's been basically playing as a left mid for quite a lot of the season so far, so I expect him to continue that high up the pitch and getting involved in goals and assists. Second is actually Anderson from Palace. He got a goal in the last game week. That's probably not why I've put him in, although his attacking threat is why you'd probably pick him over the rest of the players in the Palace defence. At 4.6 million, a cheap option. With Wolves at home, and we've seen with Wolves, they struggle to score. They don't score that many goals. They did midweek in the Carabao Cup, if it's still called that, or the League Cup, but against Premier League sides, you see them struggling scoring. So that, I think, will continue at Palace's ground. Second of all, once again, another sort of Villa away. That will be the toughest game for them. But at 4.6 million, you can bench him for 1 week because he probably hopefully got you a clean sheet in the week before. And then the third game is Fulham at home. Fulham's not been the greatest. They did get a very, very good draw against Arsenal, but they have looked a bit lacklustre. And actually defensively, from set pieces, they've looked very vulnerable. I've not picked him for it, but his attacking prowess could actually get him a goal against Fulham. And it's at home as well. And finally is Kyle Walker. This isn't City biased. I do have him in my team. But City's fixtures, Fulham at home, like I've just said about Fulham, got West Ham away. Now that can be that really could be a high scoring game, or it will be like a 1-0, 2-0. But City so far have shown they're the best defensively, and if it wasn't actually for a lack of judgment from Walker himself, City would have 3 wins, 3 clean sheets. However, why I've picked Kyle Walker over the other City players is, 1, I think he's guaranteed minutes at the moment anyway, and 2, City have been playing technically without like a right winger, So that's left Walker to be bombing up down that side and getting a lot of crosses in. And for City's second goal against Sheffield United, it was his cross that got the goal. Foden tried to control it and then Rodri smashed it in. But Walker is getting in them positions, and actually watching some of them against Sheffield United, you could see he was so close to getting an assist. On another day, Haaland puts away these chances, and then he's into a double-digit haul. That's where I've gone with for the defenders. Into the midfield, once again, you will see a Chelsea player at the top. Raheem Sterling. Now, me and Jordan were actually saying during the West Ham game, Sterling looks on fire except for the final third, and that's been a big problem of his. He was doing this. He was doing it at City. Like the final third was his weak spot. He was at one season not worrying about it. He was scoring left, right, and centre, but that seems to have dipped. But under Poch, it looks like he's got some of his confidence back. He was very good against West Ham in the first half. I don't think Chelsea were very good in the second half of that game. And then against Luton, he was the one causing all the problems. Now, it was Luton, but I still think you have to consider him. And I believe it's 7.1 million now. He's cheaper than a lot of the midfielders that we were thinking of going for, cheaper than the two below as well. So he's definitely someone you can bring into your team. Second is Phil Foden. With Kevin De Bruyne out, I think it just gives Foden that much more to thrive in the sort of attacking sense. He's the focal point of playing the ball through, in my opinion. And as you saw against Newcastle, created, I think, seven chances, the most of anyone in the game. And it got an assist against Sheffield United. Like I said, was a very lucky assist. But he was only not starting due to an illness. It wasn't him being dropped, put to the bench. So therefore, against Fulham at home, the next game for City, he will be starting. And I think he's definitely got the chances to get the goals and get the assists. I think he's probably the best out of the City midfielders. Everyone except probably Haaland and Alvarez to get the goals. So that's where I'd put him up there. And then thirdly is James Maddison. Spurs' 3 games. So I brought Maddison in last week because I saw 3 good fixtures in a row. So I was just like straight in. But still, I still think you're playing Burnley away, Sheffield United at home. Two teams that have come up. I think Spurs can do very well. They were disappointing in the League Cup against Fulham, but that was a weakened side. Maddison comes in, he'll be dictating the play, and I think everything is going through Maddison. A bit like it was with Kane, but Kane was obviously much more forward. I think Maddison is the focal point of that team, and he's coming in with goals and assists, and I don't see it really continuing without him. Like Spurs' form's got to drop off a cliff. And if that's the reason, it's because they're not passing to James Maddison. Their final game, though, is Arsenal away. I've still kept him in this because Arsenal defensively have not been great. Now, and also it's a derby, and I think in derbies it gets a bit chaotic. And I think Maddison's the type of person to be able to just get the ball and unleash sort of like a lethal shot outside the box, out of sort of nowhere. Let's say Arsenal are dominating, Maddison can just get the ball, have one big attack, and just get you your points. And I think I've seen him do that against City when he was at Leicester. So he's capable of doing it. I think everything flows through him. So he's definitely the one I think you've got to have in your midfield. But I think the other two do have better fixtures. On to the strikers. Surprise, surprise, it's another Chelsea striker up front. Jackson is up there. It's only because, really, I think the fixtures are so good for Chelsea at the moment. You probably want the treble up. If you can't, a double up is fine. To be honest, I've only got one at the moment. Thinking of probably bringing in Jackson this week. If it weren't for the fixtures, though, I probably wouldn't want Jackson. Jackson has shown good quality, sort of from an eye test of doing well for a football club, but for fantasy football, it's actually been crap. Obviously, 2 1-pointers from the first 2 games, and finally got a goal against Luton. Now, Luton is meant to be the easiest fixture on the fixture list, so that's my only concern. Whereas the others are scoring goals against teams that aren't Luton. In second, I've gone with Isaac. I think he's going to be probably the standout striker behind Haaland this season in terms of fantasy football points. Newcastle have had difficult games, so it's really hard to judge him at the moment. Newcastle's games coming up are Brighton away, Brentford at home, and Sheffield United away. Now, the reason it sounds harder than what I think it will be for Isaac, because Brighton are leaking in goals. You saw West Ham score 3 past them. Wolves got a goal against Brighton, and even Luton got one. So therefore, I think there's going to be plenty of opportunities for him to score. I think he does keep his place as the striker. He will integrate with Wilson at times, but sometimes Isaac will play possibly on the wing. So I do see him playing majority of games. So that's where he's got my second choice here in the strikers. Then you've got Alvarez. I know it's another City player, but like I said, City's fixtures are so good at the moment. It's hard to not want all of them. Obviously, for the record, I've not put in Haaland here because everyone's got him. He's 91% owned. That'd be stupid just to add him in and pointless for everyone watching. But Alvarez has been starting, and at the start of the season, I was surprised to see this. I didn't think he'd be starting much. I thought he'd have the same sort of... He'll come in a bit more when the Champions League fixtures come into play, but he's got his chance and he's taken it. And at the moment, he's having the same amount of chances as Haaland, but he's looking much more likely for assists. And if it weren't for some very good saves on the weekend from the Sheffield United keeper, he would be, I think, spoke about even more because he would have much more points than what he's on. So I think Alvarez is going to be a great pick. So that's where my 3 picks are. I wanted to go into a bit of depth onto how my team's doing, Jordan's team and Reese's team now. So bringing up all of our teams. So I'll start off with Reese. I'll go left to right. Reese, 43 points, 1 point under average. Disappointing for him. His best sort of hauls were from Rashford finally getting involved and Jackson. His defence did let him down really. Botman, you'd probably laughing when Newcastle scored. Van Dijk's off. Botman then gets injured, so won't get the clean sheet. But then Newcastle didn't even keep the clean sheet. Bit disappointing there. Estupiñán, a lot of people have him. As you can see, all 3 of us have him. It's slightly disappointing how Brighton did, but these things are going to happen with Brighton. Brighton aren't going to be the team that are going to guarantee you clean sheets each week. It's going to be attacking returns that you want him in. Looking at the rest of his team, sort of other ones, Slabusai, I've butchered that name, at Liverpool. 2-pointer, however, he was very, very good. I just don't know if he's a good FPL option. So, to be honest, if it was me, I'd be looking to get rid of him. But I think what Reese has got the problem is he's got 5.5, or maybe he's gone down in price, is Stones on the bench. Could be replacing that to have someone who's playing at the moment, get another City defender in, someone like that. But onto Reese's. That's Reese's team. Let's go on to mine. So 57 points this week. Very happy with that. I had a green arrow. Went up to, obviously you saw earlier, 5th in the Lost in Possession League, and I'm around about 200k in the world. The sort of, game week, the overall rank doesn't properly matter yet because loads of people are just throwing in their triple captains, bench boosts and all that, and then they won't play the game again. But it's still nice to be doing relatively well when you've not used any of your chips. My transfer was Salah out to Maddison. I just saw Maddison had great 3 fixtures. I was toying up between Maddison, Son and Richarlison before the game. I wanted Maddison, but he was the injury risk. Obviously, Spurs' manager did come out and say he was fit, but it wasn't a guaranteed fit, so I was still sweating a bit over it. Bruno Fernandes was fantastic for an FPL point of view. Got the penalty, got an assist, 3 bonus points. Very, very happy from me. Eventually got it. Saka was one that was slightly worrying me because he didn't take the penalty against Palace. So it's very nice to see that happening there. Haaland missing the penalty. If he doesn't miss the penalty, you've got a double-digit haul. Yeah, then you'll be happy with him. But look, everyone's got him. Everyone missed that penalty, basically, so I wouldn't worry too much. On to Jordan's team, 47, just above average. I think he did have a red arrow overall, but Jordan's team is pretty well set up, and I do see him probably bringing in my top midfielder choice of Sterling this week. 1, very slight Chelsea bias, but 2, he's just a good option with Chelsea having great fixtures. He's looking like the man that's bringing the goals, bringing the assists. So definitely bringing him in. I think all 3 of us have probably got a goalie problem. I know I've not mentioned goalies, but you don't really want to make a transfer unless you've got no other reason to. If I had my choice, I'd probably go for Sanchez, 4.5 million, and you've got a top or a big 6 defender goalie for a very cheap price. But obviously there is now the option of having the double 4.0 keepers in Turner and Areola at West Ham. But at the moment, that's kind of it. So lastly, I wanted to talk about my transfers for this week. I've only got 1 transfer, but I do have a huge 4.9 million in the bank. And to be honest, it's either I'm going to roll my transfer or João Pedro's getting out my team because he got me the goal first game week with the penalty and now is just not seeing enough game time for me. 5.5 million. I wouldn't be too bothered if I needed the funds elsewhere, but this season, the way FPL's working out, we don't need to worry too much about that. So I'm quite happy to get rid of him. It's going to be Jackson or Isaac. I'm possibly thinking Isaac to target him for when Newcastle's fixtures turn. Obviously, I said bringing him now. I think he can do well against Brighton and against Brentford and Sheffield United as well. Then the fixtures are a lot nicer. So that's where I might be sort of jumping the gun a bit, getting him a bit early and picking up them points and possibly picking up a price rise for him. So that is the video for today. Please let me know if you think there's anyone better to be putting in defence, midfield or up front. Put them in the comments. Once again, please help us out by subscribing, follow us on Instagram and TikTok that I've put up there, wrong side. And as always, you know the drill.